I want you to, like, most people know you, I suppose, like, you're pretty well known, but I want you to kind of maybe describe, like, your involvement with the music scene, like, the things you've done, the things you've been a part of and stuff. Like, what is, describe your, like, many involvements with the music scene, some of the more interesting ones.
Well, of course, being a member of CiTR Radio, the sister station to CFUV, and I remember going out there in 1985 to the Altered Alternative show, and it was a show you could sit in on Saturday mornings, and I remember I said, "Hi, Gary," over the radio to my friend Gary, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. So that's kind of when I started, 85, 86. But one moment that I regret was seeing The Clash. I missed seeing The Clash. They played the Pacific Coliseum, and there was a big riot on stage. I think somebody described it actually in a recent Offbeat article where Joe Strummer was there with the cool mohawk. I completely missed it. But here we are at the Commodore where the Clash played their very first North American gig. And the Goblins, we've done our first gig in 9 months. I think what some people forget about the Commodore is sure there was some great bands, but there were some terrible bands too. I mean, can you say Vertical After? I don't know if your listeners remember that band, Vertical After. They were horrible. They're funny, but there was so much bad metal here too. There were some horrible bands. People always talk, oh, the Clash played here. There was some terrible stuff too. And you are Danielle.
Yes, hi.
And I am Nardwuar. The human serviette.
Why? Where did that come from? I always wondered about that.
Well, I gave it away. I said me and my friend Gary thought up the name Nardwuar. Human is just like the song Human Fly by the Cramps because my friend Gary liked the Cramps. And serviette is because they don't have serviettes in Canada. They don't have serviettes in the States. They only have napkins. And my friend Gary is from the States. So it's all my friend Gary's idea. Nardwuar, the human serviette.
That's cool. So what other things you've done? You're in a few bands, aren't you, Nardwuar?
This in the Goblins, the Scoblins, the Technoblins, the Discoblins, and we're hopefully going to get Gob Biscuit and Fatboy Goblin going as well, and the Evaporators, of course.
Of course, yeah. So I asked you, I was going to say, when did you kind of start to make like a name for yourself on radio? Because you're fairly, or like not even in radio, but in the music scene, because you're pretty well known. Like many people know you.
I'm not sure when it exactly took off, but I think it might have been when I asked Mikhail Gorbachev, of all the leaders you've encountered, who has the biggest pants? And I also told him to keep on rocking in a free world. I think that's when I arrived in 1992, but I'm touching wood that I'm alive here in 1999 plus one. Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for not stopping at 1999. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was. Oh, hi. So, I've heard you're known kind of as like a human music dictionary. Do you have comments?
Not really. Usually I just ask friends stuff, and we should describe it in the background. It's the Black Halos playing. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's the Black Halos playing. You're missing the Black Halos, Danielle. No, I'm not really a dictionary. I just ask people stuff. Like, actually, coming up, I'm going to be doing an interview with Tommy Lee of Motley Crue. So I'm thinking, geez, what can I ask him? Well, the Donnas are playing tonight. They cover some Motley Crue songs. Why not ask the Donnas what to ask Tommy Lee, and maybe talk to Tommy Lee about the Donnas? So it's kind of fun to be able to do stuff like that. I really don't know too much, but if you want to check out my website, www.nardwuar.com, Nardwuar.com. That's for the radio listeners.
Why the U in Nardwuar?
I'm not sure. My friend Chris invented it when he put it on a piece of paper, because we had this movie we made called Jonas' Day Off, and it was modeled after Ferris Bueller's Day Off, except I was the star, and we went to Expo 86. It was kind of one of the first times I had a video camera, and we needed to write the name Nardwuar down. And my friend Chris McBride wrote the name Nardwuar that way on some toilet paper, and we pulled the toilet paper down, and that was the credits for the movie. Get it? But yeah, I know Nardwuar. No umlauts, though. No umlauts. You know, like those umlauts that Motorhead have. Like those Motorhead. None of those umlauts. You know, those 2 dots. None of those.
Okay. Oh, I know that, like, the dots over the thing, yeah. So I was just gonna, like, how do you come up with the more, like, off-the-wall kind of gossipy questions? Because you get some gossipy questions happening in your interviews. It's definitely, like, kind of, like, dirty kind of stuff sometimes you're asking the bands.
Well, sometimes it's good to make up fake rumors. Like before Motley Crue got back together, they had a singer called John Corabi. They originally had Vince Neil, then they went to John Corabi, Corabi or something. Then they kicked him out and got Vince Neil back. So when we interviewed, what was his name? Nikki Sixx. I'm just looking at myself in the mirror there. Wow, I'm still alive. Thank you. I did have a health problem over the summer and I survived, and I'm so happy to play tonight. But when I interviewed Nikki Sixx, I made up a fake rumor. I said Do you know that there's a Motley Crue tribute band out there called Motley Karabi that only does songs from the John Corabi era? And most people hated the John Corabi era of Motley Crue, just like they hated the Gary Cherone era of Van Halen. So I asked Nikki Sixx, is this a fake rumor? It's fun making them up, you know? So this basically making up fake rumors, checking on the internet, or just asking your friends stuff, and reading great magazines and fanzines. I do find that people that are into punk and stuff, they know the juice, they know the dirt, they see through all the bullshit, and they know everything. And also, everybody's a fan. Like, it's fun talking to fans. Like, I love metal. People that are into metal. I love people that are into top 40. Like, anybody that goes to the extreme, that collects stuff, is just brilliant.
So, you've got, like, your interviews are pretty, like, kind of infamous now. Like, what do you think kind of, like, your most infamous interview was? Like, the one that kind of got, like, did you have any that kind of, like, got you into trouble or anything? Like, did you get into any trouble over any interviews, or, like, any turned bad, kind of?
The Gorbachev one got me banned from further press conferences. So because of that, I wasn't able to actually interview Bill Clinton, but I was able to talk to Jean Chrétien, and he muttered that I put pepper on my plate thing, so hooray for that. The only other one I think I got in trouble with is Skid Row. The band Skid Row attacked me and destroyed the tape I was using for the interview, and threatened to beat me up for fun, and to top it off, stole my toque. This was in 1994.
That wasn't in fun.
Sorry?
That wasn't in fun.
That wasn't in fun. No, that was. No, that was. But no, but I was saying, like, that was a rough one. That was one I had problem with, and it took me 5 years before I had the courage to do like another real metal band again, like in person. And I interviewed Quiet Riot, and the exact same thing happened. Now that is pathetic. I interviewed a band, Quiet Riot. They didn't like the interview. They destroyed the tape and threatened to beat me up for fun, etc., etc. What's funny about it is just thinking, okay, I got beat up by Sebastian Bach of Skid Row, or I didn't get beat up, but he stole my toque. Man, you know, Skid Row, they kick. Maybe they're the punkest of the bands. You know, that's, you know, it's acceptable. But to get kind of beat up or to get your tape destroyed by Quiet Riot, like not Venom, not Slayer, not Manowar, but Quiet Riot, that's pretty low.
Yeah, it is. So, what was your like favorite interview you do? Do you have any of that like totally stand out in your mind as your most like favorite that you had like the most fun at kind of thing?
Actually, Corey Feldman, most recently I interviewed from all those great movies. Corey Feldman, you know, Goonies, Stand By Me, but I loved interviewing him, and he was talking about the movie Meatballs 4. You know those Meatballs series? I never thought there was Meatballs 4, and it was also in Rock and Roll High School Part 2. He was in Meatballs 4 and Rock and Roll High School Part 2. Aren't those sound like pathetic movies to be in? Rock and Roll High School Part 2, Meatballs 4. And I said, how did you end up in these movies? And he said, well, for Meatballs 4, I signed on to this movie, and half the way through, they told me it was Meatballs 4. Yeah, sure, you're doing like a camp movie, and there's all these mentions, and you don't realize it's Meatballs 4. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. He also said that Marilyn Manson said that Corey Feldman was as offensive as pissing in a blind girl's ear. That's how badly Corey Feldman was dissed by Marilyn Manson. So Corey Feldman was completely open. So when you get somebody to open up like that, it's great. I love getting people when they're at the bottom. You know, I mean, when they talk to me, they're at the bottom. But at one time, it would be hard to get a hold of them. But all I got to say is Rock and Roll High School Part 2 and Meatballs 4. And the Black Halos have just ended here, backstage at the Commodore Ballroom. Actually, we are in the washroom, right, Danielle?
Yes, we're in the washroom. You gotta, yeah.
That's the water there, and also, well, this the ultimate test.
I used the Marantz to do a sound project in school with toilet flushing.
Yeah, I guess so we're not trying to compare to that, but we're just trying to give some background ambience. So yes, that's why the band has just ended. But we were in the washroom here trying to conceal from the Black Halos, who put in a kicking set and who are going on tour very soon across this great nation as of the Smugglers.
Cool. That's very cool. Yeah, so we are in the bathroom, guys. It's a very nice ambience. So, yeah, talk about the Goblins and the Evaporators. Like, what can we expect from these bands in the future? Like, any plans for tours or albums or side projects or whatnot?
Hoping to have the Goblins album out, and hopefully some Evaporator stuff before. As I mentioned, we're trying to do Gob Biscuit, you know, modeled after, you know, Limp Bizkit, Fat Boy Goblin, the whole round of stuff. The Gothblins. We're also going to do Gothblins. We did play one kind of Gothblin song tonight. We're hopefully going to do some more. We do have a recent appearance on the Good Jacket compilation that Mint Records is putting out.
And the Grenadine Sampler?
And the Grenadine Sampler. but the brand new song is the Good Jacket theme. Yes, and the grenadine sampler is Cheese Pleaser. Yes, and I mentioned that before. We love cheese. You know, we have some Camembert, Roquefort. You know, cheese Roquefort.
Yeah.
Roquefort. I can't say it right, but Camembert, Roquefort. I got a disease. I'm addicted to cheese. So that's going to be our next album, all food themed. We're not trying to do any like Cibo Matto thing because they love food as well, but I just love cheese. And if you don't eat cheese, you lose weight.
Yeah, I usually don't eat much dairy, but yeah, so the next album's kind of like a cheese theme, kind of the deal, the food cheese theme kind of.
Yes, our bassist John hates the idea. He wants to have some more tunes about Bobby Orr. We have one song called I Want to Know More About the Man Who Married Bobby Orr, because I used to vacation with my mom in Georgian Bay in Ontario, and my mom used to say, this is where Bobby Orr, the hockey player, grew up. My mom used to say, that is the man over there that married Bobby Orr. And I said, how can that man marry Bobby Orr? How can that man marry Bobby Orr? And then I find out later it was the priest. Get it? So I wrote the song, I Want to Know More About the Man Who Married Bobby Orr. It was a mystery to me, but now it's going to be revealed in an Evaporators album, hopefully sometime I think in the fall. I'd also like to do a book of all my interviews, which most people can see at www.nardwuar.com, and also have a big record release gig, kind of like this one at the Commodore, except all ages.
Oh, cool. When's that coming out?
I would love to be able to do that in the fall sometime, but have book record all together.
So you guys gonna be are you planning on doing any tours with the Goblins or Evaporators coming up soon, kind of?
Nothing planned at all, but the Smugglers are going to Australia and Japan and hopefully getting some contacts for us. We're going to be hitting the studio and fooling around with the drum machine. As I say again, Fat Boy Goblin. I don't know if that's funny or not, but I'm looking forward to it.
Who's going to be the Fat Boy Goblin?
Probably John, our bassist. See, we got John in the band in 1990. Whoa, 1990. But before that, he was in totally into hip-hop, and before that, he was in a mod band called On The Go, who actually played Nanaimo in 1984 with the Mix. Isn't that amazing? So he went from mod ska to techno and then to the Evaporators. So he joined the Evaporators in 1990. He left techno behind. Just think if John didn't join the Evaporators, it would have been Mixmaster John. So I'm figuring now, with this time gone on, John is back doing bass, and he's going to bring us Evaporators right the hell back with new sounds.
Cool. So, So what's the purpose now behind the school jersey sheet? Hang on. Hello. Oh. What's the purpose behind the whole school jersey sheet uniform kind of thing happening for the Goblins? Is that that is a goblin? What a goblin looks like kind of thing, or what is the whole the purple yellow colors, the scheme,
The honest truth is a Bellingham Value Village. I was there with the Evaporators drummer Scott. We were going through the women's uniform section. We saw two cheerleading outfits that were absolutely too small. The sweaters. They're just the sweaters. And we thought, why don't we call ourselves the Goblins and wear those sweaters over top? And that's how it became. The costume first, the concept first, and then the Goblins. There's no real reason. And it's modeled after University of Western Washington. That's why the big W is. And that's why we can find everything in those colors, because we're in Washington State.
Oh, and you have the T-shirts, the W on them.
Yes, there is, which some people think are Weezer T-shirts. And there's also another band called the Goblins from Chicago.
Yes, I've heard that.
And they're really great. And the wild thing is, when we played in Chicago, we had a gig with them, and it was the Goblins versus the Goblins. And I'm sorry, Goblins Canada fans, they kicked our ass.
Oh.
But we're learning, and we'll get better. We're learning because it was four of them, and they had ski masks. Isn't it weird? In another town across this great continent, they had ski masks and the same sort of themes. They even covered the Monks, the band The Monks that we cover as well. Same ideas. They do videos. They have fanzines just like I'm involved with, and it was just totally amazing. Rocktober fanzine is the most amazing fanzine. People should Rocktober, R-O-C, Rocktober, Rocktober fanzine, Jake Austin.
Cool. So, do you have a particular favorite? You like a lot of you have a very wide range of music you like, of course. Do you have a particular kind of favorite era, or is it all pretty all together the same kind of good? It's. What do you think?
Well, anything that kind of makes me smile. It used to be I really just loved the 60s garage punk and nothing else. But then friends of mine would say, like my friend Mark from the band Jungle, who was in the band of Sister Lovers, hey, the band Slick Toxic is coming to town. Hey, the band Cinderella is coming to town. All these bands that nobody cared about nowadays, but were famous before. And I thought, man, they're just hair metal bands. But you can make up these incredible stories and laugh about them. So basically, they made me smile. And I actually ended up liking a few of their tunes. like Warrant and stuff. It was terrible. Like I was getting into Warrant and all these terrible hair metal bands, like, 15 or 10 years after they were popular. Like most people get into Warrant and then get into punk. I got into punk, into Warrant, just because it's kind of fun. I love it. Actually, the guy, Metal Mike from the band, the Angry Samoans, he loves Warrant too. But, so just any type of music that makes me smile. Like anything, 40s, 50s, anything. I just love it.
We're all like in the bathroom here. So, yeah, I asked you the kind of like, so how do you feel kind of about the Canadian music? Hello.
Oh,
hi.
still in there.
Yeah,
Lock the door, would you?
I don't know. Are we like taking up washroom space here?
I don't know. We could move in a second, I guess.
Okay, I only have a couple more.
Okay, why don't we do,
Should we move or do a couple more questions?
I guess, why don't we move and then we can finish off with like,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey. Check. Okay, we're back again. All right. So.
Check. We have now moved to Chicks Diggett's dressing room with Danielle here on CFUV 101.9 FM.
Thank you, Nardwuar. Okay, so what was I gonna? Okay, all right.
Okay, we're doing a little interview here. We're just doing an interview here with Danielle from CFUV, and we were in the
Yeah, I remember
me from Snow Jam.
Yeah, how are you? Nice to meet you again.
And now, KJ, just quickly, we were just in the washroom doing an interview, and we were proved as washroom by, flushing. Can we prove that this is KJ?
Okay, what do I got to do?
I don't know. Well, prove to the, yeah, Danielle, take the mic. Like,
My middle name is John.
Whoa!
And that's somebody else's first name.
Uh-oh, who's that?
I don't know, this guy.
I don't know. Yeah, some guy who lived between 1819 and 1901.
There's a guy in my class named John.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, hardcore.
Can you pour me a beer?
Actually, there is, KJ, my namesake, the guy I was named after, who lived between 1819 and 1901.
So, yeah.
He, on his wedding night, saw, KJ, Danielle, he saw his wife's pubic hair on wedding night, became disgusted, became a compulsive masturbator, and died a virgin. That was my guy I'm named after.
Really?
Yeah, somebody actually told me that.
Wow, that's kind of harsh.
But actually, he's very famous. He's on the internet.
Now, was it right that you speak Russian?
I only speak a bit like Druzhny Raken u Slobodny Svet, and also Paganstva, Pagani, Nishtoite Paganstva, Nishto. That's my mom talking to the cat means, what's the meaning of this insolent behavior? And also, the word mortichka, I learned, means face, but like when you word it, but animal face, it means animal face.
And I know Kliuch is key.
Do you know the word mortichka?
Animal Face is my favorite skate video.
It's
my favorite Ramones
snout. Thank you, KJ.
Oh, sorry. I have to go set up.
Yes, of course. It was nice seeing you again.
One pause there.
Okay.
Staircase over here.
And we are back in Chicks Diggett's dressing room here with Danielle on CFUV, and Chicks Diggett have taken the stage. In fact, that voice you heard a little while back of KJ was indeed K.
J.
And you are Dan
Yell.
of CF
UV.
101.9 FM, and I'm Nardwuar, the Human Serviette. Thanks for caring.
No, thank you very much, Nardwuar. So I have a couple more questions to ask you now. I'm gonna ask you about like, how do you feel kind of about the Canadian music scene? Like, has it changed kind of over years, or like become more mainstream, or become more like underground? Is it better? Is it worse? What are your views on the Canadian music scene?
I think it's great. I love it.
Being a part of it.
I really do. I think it's got better. I think the first band, as far as I know, I could be wrong, that did like big tours was like Deja Voodoo, and they were kind of in with that whole Og record things, and they did it like in like the mid 80s. It wasn't until like the mid 80s that Canadian bands really started touring like independent kind of punky-and ones, and now it's really taken off. And I think actually since Cub toured in 1993, they really got a whole people rocking and stuff, and a whole nation on their knees ready to rock. So that was really cool with them, and I think with tons of other bands like Chicks Diggett playing now, and even bands like the Murder City Devils coming up and doing tons of dates. Like, I think that's really great. I think that shows that Canadian music scene is great when like the Murder City Devils, a cool rockin' band from Seattle, will come and do like 10 dates in BC. In BC, like, aren't they playing their? Where you're from, Castle. You're from Castle Gar, Danielle, but like they're doing a whole bunch of dates around there, aren't they? Like the Murder City Devils. That's what I heard.
No, they were just in Victoria actually a while ago.
They're doing Victoria, but they're doing a whole bunch of interior dates coming up, and I think that really that's so awesome when stuff like that happens. And the all ages scene is just going strong too. As for the bigger bands, well, they'll come and they'll go. I remember a stat, even though I guess now I kind of like them because one of the Sons of Freedom is actually married to Lee Aaron. Remember Lee Aaron? girl, I want you. I'm sorry, I metal queen. Lee Aaron. Well, she was the metal queen in the 80s. Now she does lounge music. So I kind of like Sons of Freedom, but it was kind of like bands like the Gruesomes in the 80s actually sold more than like bands of Sons of Freedom, which was kind of weird. But now, yes, of course there are more popular bands, but I think good music always comes to the top and keeps going, as exemplified by the Smugglers, like 1988, and here they are in the year 2000, the 00s, headlining the Commodore Ballroom. I remember the first time they played here, they backed up the Posies. They backed up the band the Posies. The band the Posies, who are on Geffen Records now, dropped. And I remember the Posies said, the Smugglers are here, they're the best, and people are like, who the hell are there? Even though they played. It was just brilliant that they've come back. I'm saying the word brilliant a lot because I've been thinking a lot of British stuff, and I'm really fascinated by Flat Eric. Flat Eric.
Flat Eric?
Flat Eric. You have to check it out. Flat Eric.
Okay. Yeah. What about, okay, so like the Canadian music scene as opposed to the American music scene, like hence kind of referencing the clam chowder, and ice.
Regarding that, I mean, in the States they have it easy. Like, you live in LA and you're like, I don't know if I want to drive to San Diego. It's like an hour away. In Canada, it's like, sure, I'll drive to Calgary for a gig for $50 in 12 hours. Like, it's no problem. Like, it says people in Canada, the distances are nothing. But in the States, like, oh my God, there's no truck stops. There's no Taco Bells. In Canada, the drives are incredible. There's lots of moose. It's huge, long time. You have to really work. Bands in the States don't understand. Like, when you come to Canada, there's like huge drives and there's not that many towns. But when the people get there, they totally appreciate it. But bands in the States are totally spoiled. It's the same thing by distribution. Because there's not a great distribution for Canadian music, it's hard for the stuff to get out there. We're in the States, like, they have these huge cities. Like, there's more people, in New York City than there is in Canada. So, of course, lots of people are going to come to your gigs in New York City. Actually, that's wrong. When the Evaporators played New York City the first time in 1994, 0 people came. We played there again in 1998, and I think there was about 4 people. So I think is that a 400% increase? Let's just say when we played there in 1994, the kitchen staff really enjoyed us. Actually, you'll find in those big cities like Los Angeles and New York, I think people can be a lot more creative in Vancouver and they're more ambitious because, you're living in Vancouver, you want to travel down to LA, you want to go to New York, whereas when you're in LA, you don't want to go up to Vancouver. It's like all a hassle to get everywhere. You have cool recording things you can do here. You have to worry about getting a van, but like in Canada, everybody has a van to get out of the snow. I really love the brave Canadian adventure, some people, and it's fun asking people what bands they've heard of from Canada. It's like, just, no means no, of course, DOA, but as I mentioned before, give props to Cub, or bands like Chicks Dig It, or the Black Halos that just get out on the road there and work. I one time did a little speech about Canada and the Evaporators song, United Empire Loyalists, which is all about how we're all one people, and let's not get mad at each other because we all came from America, basically, and some people came to Canada, United Empire Loyalists, and they had fought against the British too, but they just moved here, and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I mixed it up a tiny bit, but the bottom line is I said this little speech, like, listen, we're all brothers, we're children of a common mother, just like that border sign thing says. And a guy in Green Bay said to me, well, if you don't like our country, why do you come to it? And it did kind of make me think, oh my God, well, I didn't mean to kind of upset your country, but I was just trying to say that things are good. But some people in America do react that way, and especially now with this border scares, it's going to be really hard for bands to get across the border. It used to be you could just go, oh, I'm just recording in the States, or I'm playing a party. Look, here's my tuxedos. We're playing a wedding. You tell the border guard. Now it's going to be like full cavity search since all these terrorist things. It's really unfortunate, and it's going to limit a lot of people. But going down to LA, you get good contacts. In fact, the band Superconductor, I remember they played in San Francisco. Only one person was at the gig, but it was Gary Held from Boner Records, and he signed Superconductor, and it has led to Superconductor going on tour with Guided by Voices. That's pretty damn good, isn't it, Danielle?
Are Guided by Voices on tour now?
They were a little while back, but Superconductor was opening for them. So it's like you play to one person in San Francisco and it gets a big gig. However, going across the country, I never thought I'd be talking to you, Danielle. I've met you from CFUV, an intrepid reporter, radio hostess supreme, because my band basically played Castlegar.
We wanted you at our school. We love the Evaporators at our school.
Thank you so much for the $1,000 we got. $1,000 for playing to 16 people. Thank you, Ian.
I think there was 25. Maybe.
Okay, it was very William, very I was gonna say very well.
You played all our favorite songs, though. It was great.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. So, people listening out there, you're thinking, oh, well, go to San Diego. Well, if you can get those high school gigs, $1,000, it ain't bad.
No, that was it. That was good times. Good times at my school, for sure. So, here's...
You know, is your boyfriend getting mad because, you know, you're not down there, and are you getting mad? You're missing Chicks Dig It.
Oh, no, I should be all right. Don't worry. It's very nice to talk to you, and Martin will understand, I'm sure. He's very sweet and very wonderful. So he wanted to meet you, though. It was really a shame.
Well, I'll go down here. We're just
You should give him a hug or
we're just
something.
backstage. You're hiding from the noise.
I know it is. We have to hide from the noise. But I got a very open question for you right now. So like, what's your driving motivation, Nardwuar? Like, what puts you out there and in there and just like amongst the scene?
Well, just to have fun. I love to find little tidbits of information that you haven't heard anywhere else. I love collecting those little stuff and throwing them back at people. And just to smile. I love music. Like I said, I love metal people. I love punk people. I just love people that are into collecting neat little tidbits of stuff. Like I like people that collect those things on top of telephone poles, those little glass things. There's little glass things that they're totally right. Like I love all those neat little tidbits. Or I love typing in the computer the word pointed sticks. And then like one of my
favorite bands when I was a kid.
Yeah, because your parents are punkers.
Well, my mom was kind of a punk back in the day, and I used to love the pointed sticks, and I used to live up in Calgary, I used to know all the words. Oh, it was great.
And that's amazing. Like, how old are you now?
I'm 18, gonna be 19 this year.
When you're like 11.
No, that was like when I was in grade like 2, so probably like 8.
Oh,
yeah.
that is incredible. I love typing in like pointed sticks in the computer and seeing that like some guy has it on a webpage, or as mentioned in the papers recently, the new Primal Scream record samples from a movie called Out of the Blue, starring Dennis Hopper, filmed in Vancouver in 1980, starring the Pointed Sticks. The Pointed Sticks have one little scene in the movie playing the song Somebody's Mom that the band Riff Randalls perform on the Good Jacket compilation that us goblins are on, that is going to be released to benefit a loving spoonful. So it's fun, like the little tidbits. Like, I really want to interview Primal Scream and go, do you realize, you know, you sampled this movie Out of Blue, obviously you know that, but the band The Pointed Sticks were in there, and The Pointed Sticks went to England in 1980 and signed to Stiff Records, and we're going to be the next big thing, but the recording didn't turn out, they came back to Vancouver and broke up. How about that? I would love that. So this those little bit of tidbits, that's what inspires me, Danielle.
Oh, totally. That's a very good inspiration. So I think I've got like, oh yeah, here's my one last question. This is a question I really like to ask.
You got more on the other side there.
Oh, this one's, I asked most of these already. This is my kind of like, I like to ask fans this because it's kind of silly but kind of fun. Okay, so like, what is your stand on slam dancing? Is there a place for it at an Evaporators or a Goblins concert? Or is there a place for it? What do you think? Slam dancing.
Well, you see, at the gigs I've been to, the first couple of gigs I went to when I saw Death Sentence, it was like everybody was doing it. Everybody had mohawks, and that's how the scene has changed. Like when I first went, everybody had mohawks, and like if you looked like a skater, you'd get beaten up. Like I felt like, whoa, my God, I didn't look like a skater, I looked like a nerd, and I didn't get beaten up, thankfully. But now it's changed. There's not as much, you know, mohawking. But when they did slamming back then, they did a big circle slam, like the circle jerk I did. And I thought, oh, that's a thing of the past. When we played in California, Canoga Park, California, with the band FYP from Recess Records, people were doing the tornado. And that's why the Goblins have a song called The Tornado, because it's kind of like people turning in a circle. I've seen that dance, and I guess thankfully I've never had to deal with anything like that where people are going around and around in a circle hurting themselves. I did organize a gig in 1991 with the band Fugazi in North Vancouver, BC, Canada. And I remember them yelling from the stage at guys saying, "Stop slam dancing, you rockabilly guy, stop slam dancing." They're making fun of this rockabilly guy that was slam dancing and yelling at him. So I guess they have guts to stop that because people were getting hurt. I thankfully, touch wood, have never had to encounter anything like that. I did see it with the FYP band, but nobody did that to us. But it was weird sitting back in this tiny little cafe. These people were doing this little tornado thing. It was hilarious. I've seen videos on Flipside Video of like stuff happening with like the Dead Kennedys or DOA or Fear, and it's huge. Like some guy was telling me earlier today in LA, they had gigs in LA, there were like 5,000 punks in a room, 5,000 punks and skins in the mid-80s, like all slamming. It was incredible. Unfortunately, he said it was about 15 or 16 assholes that ruined it for a lot of people. But if you see any of those Flipside videos, it's like there's people on stage going nuts. Because remember, I guess what I'm saying, where there's a big population base, punk was huge then, you know, in '84. I know now when the Evaporators, who are not really a full-on punk band, go to New York and we draw 0 people, there's no comparisons, but back then it was just amazing. So that's my take on it.
So it was good kind of back then, but now the scene's kind of changed. Because you know, like now if you're moshing and you fall down, like people help you up and stuff, which is really nice. But like it's just so like, you know.
I guess I don't know. I can't really comment because I haven't really got involved in it. I do know though that you could really get hurt, and see, we've never had a chance to play with bands like that really. FYP, remember we opened and then we just kind of sat back. It was a tiny cafeteria. We never had like open for Rancid, Cub, open for Rancid. Actually, the Smugglers, Grant and the Smugglers, they played with the Queers in Colorado, and one of the audience members attacked Bees, the bassist of the Smugglers, and it was a giant melee, and it was like turned into a riot, and like there were full-on punks at that gig, intent to kill. Now people are gonna say, oh, punks at a Queers gig? Okay, maybe not punks, but it was this rowdyisms, Colorado, so watch out, touring bands.
Wow, okay. So you're saying kind of like you're more of a slow dance kind of band than a slam dance kind of band. We're not even like, or do you prove more of the slow dance than the slam dance?
Unfortunately, we've not had the opportunity to be either, because most of the time people are just wondering what the hell is going on, and I've never been presented with that opportunity to do it. But I would like to think we like to put smiles on people's faces. Second, number one, we have to exercise to make sure we do well. You know, for the people, like, get exercise and then put the smiles. Actually, the exercise puts the smiles on people's faces.
It's a wonderful thing. So I want to say thank you very much for letting me interview. And yeah, so that's about it. So what are your plans now for tonight?
I'm not exactly sure. I think I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the evening, which was the Black Halos, which you saw a bit of, right, Danielle?
Yeah.
Then Chicks Dig It, which we better rush back to see them, and then the Donnas, and then finishing off with the Smugglers. One
of my friends me and my girlfriend are very excited to see them. We're gonna like totally like smuggle around and dance. We're like very excited because the Smugglers are a great road trip band for us. We love to put them on when we go on road trips and just like enjoy.
And they're one of the bands that I mentioned earlier that really toured and played a lot of gigs. Like I think they played in your area a few years ago.
They did play in Nelson actually back in I think around '94.
Yeah, and I remember going into Ian Mosby's house.
Ian Mosby.
And he had a little picture of them on the wall. And
Ian Mosby's he's here tonight, actually.
Really, and the poster of them on the wall, which was amazing.
Yes, I love them. The Smugglers are great. They're great guys. But yes, okay, so thank you very, very much, Nardwuar, and have a very lovely night. Whoops.
Well, thank you very much, Danielle. I really appreciate all the support and the support that everybody gave me over the summer when I had a difficult time. It's just wonderful to be able to play a first gig in 9 months. And no, I'm not pregnant 9 months later, none of that type of thing. But it's just wonderful to be back, and thanks so much for caring. Keep on rocking the free world, and doot-doot-a-loot-doo.
Doot-doot.